Hello everyone watching at home, welcome to Adelaide Eternal. We are bringing you our Versus series. This is Sarven McLinton in the booth with Beckett Wolfe.
G'day guys.
So we're doing the sideboarded games from our Powerless Ruglife versus Grixis Control. And we were equals, weren't we? We were like both on one game apiece from before. So it's going to be interesting to see that post-Sideboard, whether there's any difference in the matchup, and it's going to be interesting to see how our hands line up. So this is my hand. I'll just move that around, make it a little bit clearer for you at home. So we've got a bit of this action, and I'm trying not to look.
Oh,
right? So I'm just I had to look at the screen to make sure that we didn't have too much glare on our cards, and then Beckett flashes his hand up. Oh, I think I saw a blue card in it, so I know you've got blue in there.
Well, I'll start us off with this one,
right.
and I'll say pass. The thing about guest pile post board is because a lot of the time in the control mirror, and this isn't control, but you start a lot of the same cards. You have red elemental blast, blue elemental blast, hydro blast, pyroblast. So that's what you want to bring in, and it actually means that your turn. It actually means that you get a lot cheaper. Your average CMC reduces because if you're taking out like some random 2, 3, whatever drop that you don't want, and you're adding in a bunch of 1-drops, you get a lot cheaper, which helps you in the counter wars, especially as just like a bit of an added bonus.
Absolutely. I'm going to play a Delver of Secrets off Shockland. Mental Misstep. Oh, that's brutal. So you're on 5 cards, alright?
5 of the best.
Alright, I'll fetch and I'll respond. So I have to get... I'm obviously going to get blown out by a mana leak here, but it's just you just have to do it, right? Dispel. Oof.
Which spell?
Dispel or which spell?
Which kind of spell?
So
Dispel.
So Dispel dispels Veil of Summer. I like this. This is Tom Clift's sideboard tech because I haven't seen it much, but this is a perfect example of where Dispel is really good. You get to counter Veil of Summer, which is kind of like Cryptic Command.
I think it's good against you. I didn't play it against the rug control, but I played it here because you've also got burn spells.
Yeah,
like Price
that's
of Progress
fair.
as well.
That's fair.
Which I really don't like. I'm going to get Volcanic Island. That's pretty good.
Yep. I believe I have literally no outs to this scenario, so yeah, there's no way that I'm getting through a True Name Nemesis. There's some kind of Price of Progress, Snapcaster Price of Progress, and that always draws the game but doesn't win the game because I'm going to be under the sheer amount of pressure of True Name Nemesis.
And it's under the assumption that I've got. I mean, my hand's fine, right?
Yeah,
it's perfectly
that's it.
fine. You don't need an amazing hand off here in this position. If I had 3 lands there, it might be a premature scoop. Probably not worth scooping in a tournament setting because I can just whiff. But if I've got any sort of like interaction, even just whatever, an Inquisition and a Fatal Push and any variation of spells that Kespar would run, then yeah, I'm going to be able to either pressure Sarv more or defend the threat better or interact with him trying to race.
Absolutely, and that's
what he's
just
trying to do.
Absolutely perfect example of why True Name Nemesis is 2 points. You basically create these game states where certain decks, and by certain decks I mean easily more than half of the format, just have no or at least 1 or 2 maybe answers in their entire deck. Not as a casualty of deck building, but literally just that's the number of answers they have access to. In Ruglife, you have 0. And your opponent just untaps with it and then has a mana leak, and you just basically don't have a game on your hands. So making it 2 points just reduces those kind of games.
And I think like even in the decks that are able to deal with it because they've got an edict or something, and I wouldn't recommend conceding too early because I've won plenty of games where I wanted to concede, but I think it's a matter of it's not just like about lining up. It's like, well, yeah, maybe I didn't draw my mana leak to mana leak your Diabolic Edict, but instead I drew another threat, and while you were spending all this time digging for Edict, I was just deploying a Kess or I was deploying Bolt Snap Bolt, you know.
It makes the game about itself.
And then I can change the axes because you're devoting too much time to and effort to the true name.
That's it. Making a game about itself is a really good criteria for a card being 2 points. Very, very game or format warping. So here's my hand. It's fine. It's, you know, you're not going to write home about it. All right. So everyone who's watching, don't go and write home to your mum about this. But you know, this is your opener, and it's pretty much fine. Going to set you up for a variety of different things. So I'll keep this, and I'm going to cast a Ponder.
You got him.
All right. So let's have a little Ponderoo here. This is pretty much exactly what we want to see, so we will keep it, and we're probably going to stack them in this order based on the way that my hand is lined up. So it could be the other order. It just depends on, there's a couple of variables. I think it's actually might be this order. All right, so I'm going to put them back like this and draw this card. All right, go for it. There's a number of ways that could have lined up.
Land go.
Oh, okay. That's no surprise there. All right, I'll untap and I'll draw. And then we're going to, let's play this. I'm going to fetch, and we're going to get this off a tropical island, I believe. Alrighty, and then I'm going to pass turn to you. So, really important for people who, you know, really want to level up their Hexdrinkers to have maximum level efficiency, but it's important as a tempo deck to not do that, because you could have a counterspell to protect it, and that's way more important than having some small amount of mana efficiency.
I'm just going to pass.
But the other thing is you can bluff counterspells to protect it. So they're not going to do something because it's the hardest bluff you've ever seen. You just like, don't level it up, pass, and they go, yeah, sure, you obviously have a counterspell, and you might not. So I'm going to play this, and I'm going to go to attacks. I'm going to get in there.
Yeah.
Alright, and let's level it up. He's going to get leveled up. What's that? Once. So he's going to get 1 level counter on him. And then I'm going to pass turn.
So obviously I had a number of ways to deal with this, but I didn't. And that's because they're so cheap that I don't feel too pressured about like resolving it in any time, and because I got so many, I'm also happy to fight over this lightning bolt, because then I've got a backup plan as well. And I'm happy to take the 2 and just bait at least 1 more mana, and now he's invested his turn 2 rather than me bolting it at the end of last turn, and then he just goes untaps, plays another threat with counterspell backup, and now I've got to deal with that threat, and this hand might not line up against the second threat.
Very true. Very true. So here we Hydroblast it because he's tapped off his red source, because they usually have 2 Pyroblasts in the deck. Usually against Ruglife you only want to bring 1 Pyroblast in, not 2. But oftentimes people bring in 2, and when they've tapped off the red source, you want to use your Hydroblast when you can. Otherwise, you know, it's not going to be available to you, that option.
And this is just a really just good spell.
Submerge. Woof. That is a beating. So, the Hydroblast basically has traded with a lightning bolt. So, you know, it has done its job, but Submerge is just damn good. It's a good card. It's essentially hard removal. When they have to, deploy it again the following turn, it's kind of like you've actually hard removed it, and then they draw a new Hexdrinker. It's not the same Hexdrinker. So, yep, I'll deploy my Hexdrinker.
Misstep. So, I actually kind of would rather the Bolt Resolve than the Submerge. Submerge is really strong. But, like, I guarantee killing something's good. But because I had the misstep, I thought I could try to be a bit cute, Submerge, and then counter it on the way back down.
I like it. So, I'm going to misstep back. And then I'm going to level this up by 1, and I'm going to pass the turn. So, again, it's if you've represented the bluff before, you have to continue doing it. Like, there's no merit to, not to just tapping out there, and then they're like, oh, well, you've been bluffing all this time, or you've used that Hydroblast already. So, we do what you got to do.
So I think I'd try to play around days here, but there's no miscalc or anything that he can cast, so I can just do this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yep. All right. Seems strong.
And I'll pass.
Seems strong. All right. So there's very few answers to Gurmag Angler, but the good thing is that we've got Magmatic Sinkhole, which is a recent printing, and it just pushed Rug Life through the roof. It's one of the cards that I was so excited about in 2019 because it just does exactly what Rug Life wants to do, which was try and deal with Tasigur and Gurmag Angler and then be able to attack through them. So this is a pretty good preordain because it's both on the bottom, and then we get to draw a new card. All right.
I think this is what makes Rug so strong, because I'm like, how am I down cards? That's my instinctual thought. I'm like, I feel like I've traded 1-for-1s, I've stabilized my life total a bit, like I'm not under heaps of pressure, and we're deep into the game. But he seems to have more cards than me, and it's because he's running less lands. Because I'm actually having to respect a 1-mana threat, and he can do that off fewer lands. So there's actually this sense of card advantage that Rug has against the control decks, because I'm on average needing 5 mana to effectively do what my deck does, and he only needs 3.
Exactly.
I mean, ideally, I think you speak for yourself, Sam, but ideally you'd have a few more deep into the late game, so you can cast 2 threats in a turn or cast Chandra. But your deck can operate off 3.
Yeah, 2 and 3 is the sweet spot. You don't want more lands than that. And I preordained there, and I put 2 lands on the bottom. So
there you go.
That was a sign of roughly where you want to be. So here we level up once, and there's an option to give it, protection from instants, but he didn't remove it last turn, so the chances that he has the protection from instants is,
That's right.
relatively
I certainly
low.
would have, because I would have been able to do that and still easily cast Gurmag Angler.
So I can, negate that. If he top decks an instant, then that can be, a real challenge. Ponder. Oof. All right, go for it. So Ponder is really, really good here. You see a lot of people playing the decks, and they play Brainstorm, Ponder, and shave the preordain in certain builds of not this deck. There's a bad example of a deck that would do that, but people often look for space, and so they shave the preordain. But it's almost always incorrect to shave the Ponder unless you're, say, like Dark Bant, where you just only want to use that blue for a Brainstorm to put bad cards back, especially your equipment, and shuffle your equipment back in, where Ponder really doesn't do much for you. So here's a chunk of damage. I go to 13.
Yes.
Alright, so let's untap and draw. Alright, so that's actually an interesting spot to be in terms of what I just drew. The amount of damage coming in from Gurmag Angler is pretty huge, so I have to be very careful about how I line this particular one up. Giving this protection from everything over the course of 2 turns but tapping out is pretty rough. So one thing I can do is push that decision off to some degree. Let's see. I'm going to go Gitaxian Probe with life. Yeah, this was the decision, like whether you pay your life here or not.
So I could have.
Nice.
My idea is to snap bolt the Hexdrinker, and I could have done it in my turn to make sure it happens. But to be honest, I'm expecting it to get countered or dealt with, and I think that's okay because he's not going to be able to counter Snapcaster Mage, destroy Gurmag Angler, and deploy a threat in the same turn. So my Snapcaster Mage is still sort of countering one of those options. It's either killing the Hexdrinker, or it's not letting him kill Gurmag, or it's not letting him play a second threat. the beauty of Rug Life again is he can go 1 mana kill this, 1 mana threat, 1 mana counter. So it's not guaranteed, and that's why I think Rug Life is so strong right now. But at least I'm pressuring, and then I get to untap and dig through time next turn.
Absolutely,
and that's worst case scenario. And then he's definitely tapped out and down on cards. So
absolutely right. So yeah, I have an interesting kind of scenario here, and I kind of drew the wrong land for that to be relevant for those that can see it at home, and they can see the board as well. Now I can make this up into a 4/4, and if this doesn't attack next turn, I end up getting in for a decent chunk of damage, like 8 damage. So let's go. I think we're definitely going to be doing that, to be leveling this guy up. It's just a matter of which ones we use. So we go like this. We level this up.
I respect
3. Okay.
With a snap.
And you have a bolt available, right? All right.
So this way, at least I've made him, I guess, use a mana. And if I'd done it in my turn, there you go. He would have had the spell snare. That resolves obviously. He would have had the spell snare for me anyway. So now at least I've tapped him on the spell snare in his turn.
That's it.
And if my snap resolved, then I tapped him by making him level up on a creature that died anyway. So it's just about taxing his mana a bit more. I don't have huge expectations that the snap would resolve.
Yes.
But just it's something he has to deal with.
Exactly right.
Magmatic Sinkhole would be pretty strong here.
Yeah, that's right. I'd be looking forward to that. It's probably not going to be the case.
The Gurmag racing is relevant. That's why I attacked with the Gurmag. Yes, he's on the more aggro deck, but because I'm technically racing, now it's another burden on his hand. He has to find an answer for Gurmag on top of compiling counter spells and threats.
Yep, exactly right. So this guy's obviously getting in for 4. And then we have... interesting. So I think it's a pass turn. So this is a scary spot to be in, obviously. When you've got this big resolved Gurmag sitting there.
Ooh.
So I know his hand is like Watery Grave, Dig Through Time, and he's got a top deck. And Dig Through Time also presents him with a large number of top decks as well.
Now, ideally I would do the Dig Through Time first. That's a really good draw. Ideally I'd do the Dig Through Time first because the True Name is what I really want to resolve. But it just helps me with my mana because if this gets countered, it goes to bin. So I can then delve it. But yeah, I'm ignoring. Maybe it's better to just dig there, but I want to see this interact. I feel like I'm winning the race. So if he's interacting with True Name and then I get to resolve a dig, still pretty good. So
yeah, true.
And there's every chance he just can't deal with True Name.
True Name is a nightmare. True Name is an absolute nightmare. So I'm knowing if I knew this was a top deck. I mean, if we knew this was coming, we probably would have leveled up the Hexdrinker, which presents a
unblockable.
Yeah, it presents something pretty amazing the following turn, but unfortunately, this is just gonna resolve.
Okay. And I probably should have shocked this anyway to play around Mana Leak, but I'll attack now.
Yep. So I'm taking that. I'll go to 6.
Yep. And I'll pass.
All right.
So I'm doing this, and maybe he's got some way to deal with these things, and then I can dig end a turn.
So we basically had lethal. If we knew this was coming up, we would have leveled up, and then we'd have lethal next turn. But we don't have that option. We have to just roll the hard 6, which doesn't feel good. So instead, we have to 1, 2, 3. Yeah. It's pretty brutal. This is literally this top deck is the one thing that punishes us from not having leveled up last turn, and we'll show Beckett. Everyone at home can see what that line was, but we'll show Beckett later on, I'm sure. So instead, we have to 1, 2, 3. So we have to fetch and go to 5. Do this at end of turn, and then we have to. Yeah, all right. That's our only option. Like we don't have a deterministic win here, whereas we did have a deterministic win if we leveled up the guy last turn. So 1, 2. I'll show you the. I'll attempt not to get punished by a fetch land here, because we know that we're not going to be able to get. Where is it? We're not going to be able to play Chandra because we have Chandra in hand, and this particular line is a line that doesn't. So I pop us.
Yep. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
So see, I end up taking 2, so you get a 1. And if I top deck a land, any land now, rather than getting the fetch land here, because this is...
You get to Hexdrinker.
Yeah, and I hex drink and I just get lethal. So
you need...
Like, I wanted to play Chandra, but it just wasn't going to happen.
Why can't you get Tiger there, though?
Because I got a 1 and a fetch land punishes me.
So sure.
This way... any land is an out, as opposed to before any land wasn't actually an out. Alright, so I draw. Alright, and then I end up losing the game. So there's sadly the 2 point card is the one that I completely
Tiger should win, right? Because you got a 1 and then you just Chandra up.
Oh, so yeah, that's right. Yeah, so Tiger still wins.
Tiger wins, yeah.
All right, so I still have lethal either way. Because you're on 1. Yeah, okay. So we do that and do the lethal actually in hand. Oh. So what I was thinking of going for was...
If I didn't shock, I think maybe you were thinking of...
yeah, that's right. Yeah. That was the variable that I had in mind. I'm like, well, he's obviously not going to shock, but then ends up shocking. So yeah, we can get there just by playing Chandra to do 2 to the face, but you could see that if it wasn't for True Name, the plan was pop you end of turn and then go to my turn and play and like have Chandra and be really, really far ahead, or have a protection from everything guy. But it was correct to make a protection from everything guy, or set up for a protection from everything guy.
You knew my hand though, but yeah.
But then I lose like Dreadball, so so there's a few things that can kind of go wrong there.
Maybe I shouldn't have played Watery Grave, but I was sort of half expecting you to counter the True Name, and then I wanted to be able to go like dig through time after that.
Yeah, that's right. So in pre-board games, Powerless Rug is 1-1 with Grixis control, Tom Cliff's list. And post-board games, we also have a 1-1 between Grixis control and Powerless Rug. So if you're interested in sleeving up one of these decks, you can go and check out Tom Cliff's, what is it, from the CanCon, a quarter-finalist list. And this one is the Powerless Rug list that I'll put in there as well. And again, it's instead of using Time Walk, you just end up having a variety of cards that aid in your primary game plan, which is making your opponent stumble on mana and turning 1-drops and 2-drops sideways.
What are your points? Snap, Wasteland, True Name, Dig Through Time, Force?
Strip, and Force, no Dig Through Time. There's no card draw ones. There's no Cruise or Dig. So you're just in on having some really, really good threats. So you got True Name, Snap, Strip, Waste, and Force of Will. And having Force of Will and Force of Negation together is a really, really nice combination, along with Wasteland and Strip Mine alongside a Daze. It's basically exactly where the Tempo deck wants to be. So we'll see you in the next Versus series. Thanks for watching, everyone.
See you then.